You know, there are some mysteries that just get under your skin and refuse to let go. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most haunting cold cases in modern American history, the disappearance of Tara Calico. It's a story that starts on a totally ordinary morning and spirals into a decades-long search for answers, all centered around one single terrifying photograph. All right, so picture this. It's Tuesday, September 20th, 1988. Tara Calico, she's a 19-year-old college student, leaves her house around 9:30 in the morning. She's just going on her daily bike ride, a 36-mile loop she did all the time along New Mexico State Road 47. Just another day, right? But Tara never came home. She just vanished along that lonely stretch of road. And she left behind a question that has haunted her family, the investigators, and really the entire country for over 3 decades now. What in the world happened to Tara Calico? So let's go back to that morning. Let's really break down what we know about those final hours before Tara just disappeared into thin air. See, Tara had a plan that day. She told her mom, Patty, hey, if I'm not back by noon, come get me. She had a tennis date to get to. When she didn't show, her mom went looking, but all she found were pieces of Tara's Sony Walkman and a cassette tape just lying on the side of the road. Her mom was convinced she dropped them on purpose, like a trail of breadcrumbs. Her bike, never found. But some witnesses did say they saw a light-colored pickup truck following way too close behind her. And here's where it gets even more chilling. Tara's mom had actually stopped riding with her recently. Why? Because she felt like they were being stalked by someone in a car. She begged Tara to start carrying mace, for protection. But Tara just kind of brushed it off. It's just a heartbreaking detail that makes you wonder, what if? For almost a year, the case had pretty much nothing. And then, something happened. Something that would take this case from a local mystery to a national obsession. A woman in Port St. Joe, Florida, think about that, over 1,500 miles from where Tara went missing, finds a Polaroid photo in a convenience store parking lot. It was just sitting there, in a spot where a white, windowless Toyota cargo van, driven by a man in his 30s, had just pulled out. The photo itself, it's the stuff of nightmares. It shows a young woman and a little boy, both of them bound, with black duct tape over their mouths, just lying on some bedding in the back of a van. And in what feels like a really personal, twisted clue, right next to the woman is a copy of the book My Sweet Audrina, which just so happened to be one of Tara's all-time favorite books. Can you even imagine? When Tara's mom, Patty, saw that photo, she was absolutely certain it was her daughter. It wasn't just a resemblance. She pointed to a scar on the woman's leg and said it was identical to a scar Tara had from a car accident. For a mother, that must have been a moment of pure horror and recognition. So you'd think this would be the breakthrough, right? Well, no. Instead of answers, the photo just made things even more mysterious. Forensic analysis was all over the place. Scotland Yard looked at it and said, yep, that's Tara Calico. But then the Los Alamos National Laboratory analyzed it and came to the exact opposite conclusion, saying it was definitely not Tara. So the case just hit this massive, frustrating wall. And the FBI, their analysis was completely inconclusive. So after all of that, this photo, the biggest break in the case, gave them exactly 0 definitive answers. A total dead end. So that Polaroid really opened the floodgates. But instead of clarity, what poured out was just more confusion, a whole trail of more photos and more dead ends that just made everything murkier. For a minute there, it looked like maybe they could identify the boy in the picture. He was thought to be a 9-year-old named Michael Henley, who had also gone missing in New Mexico just a few months before Tara. His own family was pretty sure it was him. But tragically, that theory was proven false. In 1990, Michael's remains were found up in the Zuni Mountains, and investigators figured he had probably just wandered off from a campsite and died of exposure. His case had nothing to do with Tara's. And it didn't stop there. Over the years, other bizarre clues just kept popping up. 2 more Polaroids, one found out in California, another one on a train. They were looked at, but they led nowhere. Then, get this, as late as 2009, these anonymous letters with pictures of a boy with his mouth blacked out were sent to the police. It sparked all this new speculation, but again, no real answers. Okay, so for 20 years, the case is all about this mysterious abduction, the Polaroid, the van, right? Well, then the investigation took a hard left turn. The whole story shifted away from some unknown kidnapper and pointed right back at our hometown. In 2008, the Valencia County Sheriff, a guy named Rene Rivera, goes public with a brand new, shocking theory. He said he'd gotten information that two local teenagers, kids who knew Tara, had accidentally hit her with their truck while she was on her bike, and in a panic, they killed her to keep her quiet, and then they hit her body. And this is the kicker. Sheriff Rivera said he knew who was responsible. He had their names. But he said that without Tara's body, his hands were tied. He just didn't have the physical evidence he needed to get a conviction. It was this huge, frustrating announcement that just left the case hanging in limbo all over again. For another decade after that, pretty much radio silence. The case went cold again. But then, just recently, after 35 long years, the case started to heat up again. Big time. The momentum really started building in 2019 when the FBI put up a $20,000 reward. Then, in 2021, a new lead had police executing a sealed search warrant on a house right there in Valencia County. And then, in June of 2023, the biggest news in decades, the sheriff's office announced they finally had enough evidence to take it to the next level. And that's where we are right now. The entire investigation has been officially handed over to the district attorney's office. They're reviewing it for potential charges, which means for the first time in over 35 years, charges might actually be filed in this case. But, and this is a big but, we still don't know who the suspects are. A judge has sealed their identities, and all the details about this new evidence are being kept under wraps. The breakthrough feels so close, but it's still just behind a closed door. And so that leaves us right here, today. The case of Tara Calico, a case once defined by that haunting Polaroid and decades of dead ends, might, just might, be on the verge of a resolution. And it leaves us all with one final lingering question. After all this time, will her family, and the rest of us, finally get the answers we've been waiting for?